Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Namaskar. You have stepped into a course that is going to change the way that you look at data. Not just how you analyze it, but also how you communicate it. My name is Nivid Desai. I serve as the Program Executive at Writing Studio IIT Gandhinagar. Welcome to Writing for Data Science. This course is at the intersection of analysis and communication. As all of us know, data analysis is not just about coding and models. It is about solving real-world problems. And that is exactly why every single thought that goes into solving those problems needs to be communicated. And not just to one audience, across multiple stakeholders. That is where this course comes in. This course prepares you with the foundations of writing, especially curated for data science. We will discuss audience analysis, critical thinking, logical reasoning, as well as storytelling that is native to data science. So join me on a journey at the intersection of numbers and narratives. I'll see you in class. Namaste, hello and welcome to Writing for Data Science. My name is Nivid Desai and we are on an interesting journey to explore the intersections between numbers and narratives. Today's lecture is part 3 of the synthesis series, in which we have looked at the interconnections between each of the modules that we have studied in this course so far. In the first lecture of the synthesis series, we looked at the relationship between our introductory module and audience analysis. In the previous lecture, part 2 of the synthesis series, we looked at the relationships between audience analysis and critical thinking and logical reasoning. And today's lecture is going to offer some closing thoughts on the purpose of this course, the role of storytelling, and how to bring it all together. It will help us establish what really is the mission of becoming a data communicator and what are the core principles that we must take away with us as we bring this course to a close very soon. So, let's begin. At the onset, let me emphasize what this course was really about. This course was designed around one central idea. Data science creates value only when its insights are understood, trusted, and used. Let's look at these 3 words. First, when insights are understood, meaning their dissemination to the audience, to the readers, is comprehensive. Not only does the audience receive that message, but also understands it successfully. Where does that responsibility lie? Of course, with us, the communicators. When a data communicator encodes a message, the responsibility of the audience understanding that message largely lies on the communicator, the encoder. So, that is the sign of creating value in data. Number 1, that your message is understood. Number 2, it is trusted. We have spent a laborious amount of time trying to achieve credibility in our arguments. We have looked at understanding and empathizing with our audience, the difference between technical and non-technical audiences, and the roles of 2 key guiding principles: critical thinking and logical reasoning. All of this arsenal of ideas, we have wielded all of it just to build trust, to build credibility, so that, especially while communicating something as sensitive and as precise as data, we can gain the trust of our audience when they need that the most. You see, data science communication is also very malleable. What I mean by that is, it can be molded and manipulated to create confusing, often misleading messages. You must have seen such kind of communication all around you. Sadly, it is all too prevalent. So, when we become data communicators, conscientious data communicators, we need to make sure that our audience trusts our message. So, that's point number 2. Data science creates value when insights are trusted. And at last, utility, when the insights are used. Data science communication is not an end in itself, it is a means to an end to achieve the kind of goals, the kind of outcomes, and decisions which lead to real life impact. So, when data science informs our communication, the kind of messaging that we deliver has to be rooted in actionable insights, not just insights that sound good or are interesting, but insights that can be acted upon. When somebody reads it, they know what to do with that information, not just keep it with them as trivia. So, everything you learn, from writing to audience analysis to critical thinking, logical reasoning, and storytelling, all of our modules, they serve that one goal: to achieve the trifecta of value creation in data science communication: understanding, trust, and utility. Writing in this case was never treated as a cosmetic skill. It was never the place to flaunt your language and vocabulary and just assert dominance as somebody who can wield words at their own wish. But it was treated as a thinking process, a decision tool, and a bridge between data and the world that it shapes. Here's a quick reflection for you before we move forward. When you think back to the start of this course, what did you believe writing in data science meant? And how has that belief changed? It'll be interesting to examine. I think we had that kind of conversation about what we mean by writing, what our assumptions about writing would be, and what our assumptions about the role of communication in data science might be at the beginning of this course. So, now that we have spent a significant amount of time trying to shape and refine our understanding, probe yourself and see, how has that belief changed? How has it evolved? Now, let me also spend some time to deliberate upon storytelling. In the final module, Storytelling with Data, we learned that data becomes powerful when shaped into stories. We explored narrative structures and arcs, characters, setting, and context, cognitive and emotional engagement. We also looked at choosing the right data for the right story and applying that storytelling beyond the classroom. We must remember that each audience segment prefers different kinds of narrative structures, different kinds of narrative arcs. Some of them may emphasize insight, some of them may emphasize emotion, some of them may emphasize impact. All of them are valid, all of them are just as effective. But you can't misplace these insights between different sets of audiences because it will not get the kind of effectiveness that you need. With characters, we learned to look at the emotional value that they bring in. When you humanize the data, it does something to your audience. It connects at an emotional, core human level so that the kind of message, the kind of persuasion that you want to deliver to your audience reaches and lands at its precise spot. We also saw how setting and context plays a very important role in determining the effectiveness of data. We also saw how storytelling is a cognitive as well as an emotional engagement tool. Not just does it play with our mind, it also plays with our hearts. We also saw how choosing the right data is contingent upon the setting, context, audience, and a whole host of other variables. And in the end, we saw how all of this was not again an end in itself. We learned these tools, we dive deep into this theory so that we can apply storytelling as a perspective beyond just our conversation in the classroom. Storytelling showed us how to move from analysis to action without exaggeration, without manipulation, and without losing the rigor of analysis. Here's a quick exercise for you. Describe one data insight that you worked on throughout this entire course as a short story. Think about beginning, middle, end. We talked about Aristotle, the three-act structure. All of these are core principles of storytelling. Look at how you can think of one data insight that you can convert into a short story. By now, I hope that it is clear that these modules were never separate. The whole course was designed in a way that we can explore not just each of these principles in depth by themselves, but also see how they are interconnected, almost interdependent upon each other. Writing shapes thinking, audience analysis shapes writing, reasoning shapes credibility, and storytelling shapes impact. All brought together, they form a single professional capability, the ability to turn data into understanding and understanding into decisions. Because at the end of the day, just as we discussed at the beginning of this lecture, the point of writing in data communication is not to become a platform to flaunt our vocabulary, flaunt our language. The point of writing in data communication is a much more instrumental, much more functional point. So, what we do is bring sense into the data, is to make sure that data becomes insightful and actionable, to bring a human angle to data in a world that is otherwise cold and calculative. Here's a quick reflection question for you. Which part of this integrated process do you want to keep improving after this course ends? I'm sure that depending on your professional or academic profile, you would have found different points throughout this course which would have resonated with you. For some of you, audience analysis might become the most key principle on which you design your communication because you might be a public facing professional. On the other hand, for somebody who is an analyst, critical thinking and logical reasoning might become key to their entire arsenal of data science communication because you need to bring in rigor, you need to bring in analytical precision. That is why you need to check with yourself what kind of process would you like to put in place and keep improving as this course comes to its conclusion. As you move into the next phase after having learned all of this in detail, you must remember your code may be correct, but your writing makes it usable. Your analysis may be correct, it may be sound, but your reasoning makes it credible. Your data may be rich, but your story makes it matter. Data answers questions, writing shapes meaning, and stories, they create change. So that was it from my end at the end of the synthesis series. He took a bird's eye view all throughout our modules and saw how we were on one integrated journey until now. It has been a sheer joy exploring all of this with all of you. Because in the end, even for myself as an educator, discussing these ideas, doing these exercises with you, reflecting upon these questions with you, it has been a true joy to discover why I fell in love with this subject in the first place. So, thank you for your attention, for your consideration, and for your engagement. It means the world to me. I hope that this conversation thus far has been insightful and helpful to you in bringing some clarity, springing up some new questions, and hopefully inspiring some new exploration journeys in the future. Coming up is the last lecture of this entire course. In that one, we will see how to create impact out of stories and how to put that into action. It will be the last lecture of this module and of this entire course. It's been a sheer privilege to have you join me on this journey. Thank you so much. All the best. Keep learning. I'll see you in the next class, the last class. Namaskar.